Shelle, he said, they called me back. I didn't get to go home. They called me back. And when I came in, the commander, the chaplain, everybody was here. And he was like, ooh, something big's going on. And he said, when they got me in the conference room, I realized they were there for me.
Shelle, thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I have today on the show, on the podcast, my beloved everything. She is my housekeeper, my shoulder I cry on. She's also a helicopter in the sanctuary. She does every little task and detail that no one else is able to do. She gets done. She ties the bows, dots the I's, crosses the T's, and Shelle, this is Shelle. Thank you for being here, Shelle.
Thanks for letting me be a part of this.
Yeah. When I met you, let's see here, and you say often, I'm Shelle, I'm bipolish. And it was the best thing ever because I related so hard to it. I'm like, oh, okay, I can be bipolish as well. We are a little all bipolish inside, I think.
Yes.
And it's fun to see the little Shelle-isms that come out of you. And because it's a constant.
It's a flowing thing.
It's a constant flowing just communication. She adds on to every little detail of life and it makes it really fun. You're Pisces.
Yeah, through and through.
And
I'm learning a lot about that.
Yeah.
So it's an absolute. I love it.
You were adopted.
Yes.
And being adopted, you told me you have a quite interesting story about your parents and them choosing you, and then your perspective of how it kind of shifted and shaped how you felt in the home. And
yeah. So I was 4 days old when I was adopted.
Okay.
And I don't ever remember them ever sitting me down and having this big discussion, you're adopted. It was just, I always knew.
You always knew?
It was always a constant because I always had loads of questions.
So just from your first memory, you can remember them just being yeah, you've been adopted. We've adopted you. Mm-hmm. Okay. So just very open about it.
Yeah. So they were always very open that way. But I was just constantly probed for questions. I wanted more information.
Yeah.
And they didn't have it because it was a closed adoption, Utah.
Yeah.
And, so for myself, I felt like I had to please them. I had to earn that love through my work and just being a good kid. And, going to church was everything.
How did it make you feel as your child, I guess, knowing you're adopted? And the questions that you had for your parents, what were they? Why did my mom give me up? Who is my mom? Mm-hmm. Why? Why?
I definitely wanted to know more of the why.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I just was always very, very inquisitive because I was always the loud one in the room. I know that you'll get that, but my parents are very quiet.
Yeah.
They both grew up on farms in Idaho. Not a whole lot of touchy, lovey interaction.
No hugs as a child?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Mm-mm. My granddad was a dry drunk.
Okay.
So he was just mean.
Were your parents alcoholics at all?
No, my parents
just
never
your grandpa?
touched alcohol.
Okay, just your grandpa.
My mom's dad was, and so she took, she had a tough upbringing, but they only went on 3 dates before they got engaged.
Okay.
And their first date was a blind date. And, in the church, you got to get engaged fast.
What church are you talking about?
The LDS church.
Okay.
And so I think they were only engaged for a few weeks.
And got married?
And they got married. And
no, they couldn't have kids?
Then they found out that they could not have babies. And I don't know if that affected their relationship, but I think I can count on one hand, maybe a finger on another hand, of how many times I've seen them kiss.
It's 6 times in your life. Okay. What would you
I'll
say?
give them 6.
You told me how they ended up choosing you. It's such a good story. This is so cute and darling what her parents always grew up telling her. And I don't know if cute and darling is actually the right phrase to put into this, but
I know that for them, they thought it was funny.
Yeah. But for you, it kind of cut deep.
So yeah. So my dad would always say, we were told that if your baby is born ugly, they'll grow up beautiful. If your baby is born beautiful, they'll grow up ugly.
And your dad thought that.
And so they had a choice between 2 different girls.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know if they saw the other baby. I would assume they did, because I was obviously the uglier of the 2. And he was like, so we took our chance on you, because we're like, she's really skinny and her bald, veiny head. So she's got to be beautiful when she grows up.
And you are. He took a chance on you and he was right. But that's kind of a funny way to choose a baby.
It stuck. Yeah, it stuck with me in a not good way that I didn't realize.
And how would you process that? How did you think about that as a child, being told that as a child?
I didn't know how to process it. So I just kept people pleasing. I just kept trying to fit their mold.
To find love, do you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I wasn't great in school. I'm pretty sure I have all the ADHDs. I don't like to sit still. School was really hard for me. So they were always really disappointed in me with that. So I put my worth in my work.
When did your celiacs and your intolerance to gluten come into play? Was it earlier in life or later?
Well, when I was first born, I was in and out of the hospital.
Constantly?
Lots. Yeah.
For what?
I couldn't keep anything down.
Okay.
And so I was on
digestion problems.
Always digestion issues.
And you couldn't keep anything down.
They said that they thought it was because my birth mother smoked.
Oh, interesting.
So they thought that was why I had so many gut issues. But right out the gates. And so I ended up, they had to go drive out to a farm to get goat's milk. That was the only thing that I could keep down.
Okay.
So that's.
So you've had digestive issues from the go, girl.
I never correlated that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So right out the gates,
do you remember always having stomach issues and pains?
I just didn't like bread because I didn't like the way it made me feel. It made me feel really full.
Yeah.
And I never, ever felt like nauseous or anything, but I just felt so painfully full that I would just like pick as most of it off as I could. So bread was really not, that was my only thing. I just didn't really like bread.
So you've always had digestive issues, as long as you can remember. And you told me in the environment in your home growing up, your mama was in a constant state of
unhappiness,
and she would constantly communicate specifically that she didn't want to live. Yeah, all the time, constantly.
She would just go from 0 to 60, and then she would just lash out, and she's like, I just want to die, okay? I just want to die. I just don't want to do this anymore.
And you said you heard that how many times, like every day of your childhood? Or how many times do you think?
I don't even know.
Just a lot.
I just know that.
Or when did she start with the?
So we built our first house. We moved into it when I was 8. Because I remember that because I didn't want to get baptized in a new ward where I didn't know anybody.
Okay.
And so that really stunk. And because I was the new kid.
And 8 years old.
And they made fun of my freckles.
Is when you get baptized when you're LDS?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I definitely remember once we hit Bedford Road, and I mean, we had this brand new house. I mean, I thought we were like rich. I did. I thought we were.
I love that. New house, doing
and,
good.
Yeah, they both worked. She loved to work. She loved her job. I I was like I was Cinderella.
Yeah. Is this around the time when it started? Is your memories of it really happening?
Of it really.
What do you think went on? Or what do you think triggered her
I
to
just
constantly say
now
that?
that I can look at it more objectively, I just truly believe that she's unhappy in her marriage. I don't think that either of them have been happy for a very, very long time.
And her just instantly.
And she just can't say it because, in that religion, it's taboo to get divorced. You don't.
Yeah. When I met you, Shelle, you've had an inner conflict with the Mormon church. And it's been a process of letting that go. Growing up in Utah, being raised LDS and Mormon, and really having to let go of the conditioning and cycles that it brings you to and break free of any anger, but because of it. And if you don't align to that, right? And so
then you stay angry.
So
and you have helped me exponentially with that because I know there's been many times that I triggered you into feeling irritated because I'm bipolish. If my brain thinks it, my mouth says it, and I just start talking about it. But you just keep getting these like new realizations. It's kind of like I keep getting a new prescription of contacts, and I just keep seeing clearer,
new perspective,
and clearer, and and it's like,
that's cool.
Wow,
that's good. I like that. So, and at some point you get to learn to love the church because it brought you here into the understanding. Well, every single moment up until now, and the church was a part of that in some way,
and it taught me the importance of family.
Yeah,
and I do love so many of the family values and stuff, And
speaking of family, Shelle, you have an amazing one. I want to go there. She has three incredible children.
I do. I have 3 wonderful children.
She's recently divorced to an incredible man, Scott, who they're still friends, right? Are you guys still friends? Yeah.
Yeah.
They just decided no more.
A
bit more, but yeah. So let's talk about Jake.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, is that okay?
Oh, yeah. We can go into it.
You want to go there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So after he passed, then, we weren't working on marriage anymore. It was like individual survival.
Okay. And how long ago did Jake pass?
So Jake.
It was just
So he was
memorial,
our youngest. Right? So Kaylee is the oldest.
Okay.
And I had her when I was 19 and I wasn't married. Married Scott. He adopted her, and then we got married. Well, we got married. He adopted her, and then we had Trevor 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day after we got married.
Okay.
And then Jake was our, welcome home from Korea baby.
Okay. Because you guys were in Korea, why?
Scott went to Korea for 1.5 years. He was in the Army.
Okay.
He joined the Army when Trevor was 1.
Okay.
So he was gone for quite a bit.
So then we came back, you had Jake?
So we had Jake, and when we were stationed in Kansas.
Okay.
That was our first duty station, and he was our only out-of-state baby.
And how long ago did Jake pass away? That was the question.
Oh, I am so sorry. It'll be 10.5 years next month.
Okay.
So it was 9/11 of 2014.
Okay.
And so do you want me to just tell you about
you have an interesting story. Shelle has a very specific story to her son and her son's death, and he committed suicide, and I want her to tell the story. It's a very profound one, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, so he was the youngest, and so and I have to start out and admit that, yes, I did baby him. My kids, they're like, you babied him. It's like, yes, he's the youngest, and I know how fast this goes. But he struggled quite a bit. And when he was in 3rd grade, his teacher came and told me, she's like, I can't teach him. He won't sit still. He needs to be medicated. And so it still just gets me because
What kind of medication did you put him on?
Adderall.
Adderall. Okay. So he was on Adderall.
And the thing that makes me the maddest, I think about that is that she was comparing him to Trev.
Was he on Adderall when he ended up taking his life?
No,
Okay.
he was not. He took Adderall for about 1.5 years, and he came to me one day and he says, I can't take this anymore. He said, it makes me
I'm
feel
glad
like,
he was able to identify that.
well, he said to me, he says, it makes me angry and it makes me hate everyone. He says, I feel
Wow.
like your brother.
Wow.
That's what he said to me.
Okay. You have a lot of trauma with your brother?
That's a whole nother podcast. Yes.
Okay.
And my kids.
Is there trauma that Jake had with your brother?
Oh, yeah. He was verbally abusive to all of the kids. He would just yell at them. And
has it ever been processed after Jake's death with your brother or any?
No, we've been no contact for almost 3 years.
Wow.
So we don't.
Where do you feel that in your body as you discuss it? Your hands are moving.
Yeah, but not like nervous. You know what? I had
like your brother and then.
Yeah, but I had to either accept, because we had a situation over my mom threatening to take her life. Okay, so I ended up calling the police.
Back to your mom.
Got to back that up.
And is this before Jake's?
Nope, this was just 3 years ago.
This was just 3 years ago.
My dad called me bawling, saying, I don't know what to do. Your mom's saying she wants to die. Can you come over and help? And
this is another just episode because this is what happens.
And
okay.
So I ended up calling 911 because you only get to mention guns to me so many times. And
right, especially if you've been through what you've been through.
And I was truly scared. And she talked 10 grown men into going home. She just started acting like she didn't remember that she was even there. Okay. And so I just set up boundaries and said, no more. We can't hang out.
So you're telling me your mom goes into spits an episode saying, I'm about to commit suicide. I'm going to take my life. Everyone huddles around her trying to convince her to stop. Then all of a sudden she just says, nothing's wrong. Everyone go home. Everything's fine. And nothing's ever addressed. Nothing's ever talked about.
Nope.
Okay.
At my house, when it was over, my dad just wanted it to be over. It's over. We don't talk about it.
Okay. And I feel like that is so often, I know in my childhood and upbringing, we didn't discuss a lot of times if, there was manic episodes or if dad was extra angry or if something happened or, then it's just kind of like, okay, next day we're all good, right? So, okay.
Well, yeah, because you're still going to have family prayers at night and you're going to hold hands and everything's going to be great.
Do you talk to your mom?
Once in a while.
Okay.
I'm working on it. There's
a lot of forgiveness, it feels.
And it's been in this past year since I have met you that's helped me realize that I need to forgive her as a person because she's never gone to therapy.
And then also your brother too.
She can only love me as much as she loves herself.
Yeah.
And that is not at all.
Right.
And so I just have to, and Greg as well, I have to just let it be.
Okay. And we're trying to talk about Jake and it goes Jake, back into your mom and Greg. So there's obviously like injury inside you and trauma inside of you.
Yeah, but she didn't.
How much of that do you think Jake had and held?
Probably a lot.
Okay, so 9/11, Jake's going to school.
It was actually
it's time for him to go to school.
It was actually National Suicide Prevention Week,
and National
that day
Suicide
was National Suicide Prevention Day.
And you had not a clue.
Nope, I was in New Jersey visiting my birth mom,
and you had not even a clue that he was in any emotional state.
No,
that was driving him to
it was
mentally.
The longest I'd ever been away from him. Okay. I was gone for 9 days. I was flying home the next day. And so Wednesday night, I had sent him a meme and he'd sent me a comment back. And because I was on the East Coast, I fell asleep. I never responded to his text.
What did his text say?
He just, well, because it was from the Big Bang Theory,
Mm-hmm.
and it says, "Gravity, thou art a heartless bitch."
Mm-hmm.
And he commented, he's like, "Oh my gosh, please don't tell me you fell down again." Because I had fallen a year before and broke my foot.
Okay.
And so he was like picking fun at
And
me.
he said that.
And I fell asleep.
Okay.
And the next morning, I was like, you know what? I'll text him in a little bit. I wanted to start getting my laundry done because I was so excited to go home. And I was packing up some of my laundry, and I just picked up my phone and checked my email, and there was one from his school that said, "Due to a medical emergency, school's out for the day." So I texted Jake, and I'm like, "Oh, who pulled the fire alarm?" Just being funny mom.
Yeah.
And I waited for the bubble, and it was like, oh, yeah, he's definitely not going to answer me. He loved having a phone, but he was not a great communicator. He was a very private, quiet
Okay, so he wasn't
person.
responding.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So I had talked to my daughter, I talked to my husband, and I even called the school. And they didn't act like they were looking for any parents or anything. I just asked them when the buses took the kids home. And then I was just like, you know what? He probably went home and got back in the bed, or he's down in the basement playing Xbox and his phone's upstairs plugged in.
Well, what at this point had you known about why school's out?
I didn't.
Okay.
I had no clue. And
Okay.
when I called the school, they didn't give, the secretary even, she's like, well, if you're out of town, we can go over and check on him. So I had no reason to believe that any students were in any kind of danger. And then I was on the phone with my ex-husband, and I heard the lieutenant in the background say, "Oh my God, they found a dead body at his school."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I thought it was like a janitor had possibly had a heart attack. There was like a sketchy part back behind the football field that I thought maybe a homeless person had gone, I never thought, it didn't say a student.
Okay.
But that's when my text to him started changing. I'm like, hey, dude, I went to bat for you to get a cell phone, and it's for these kinds of things. I'm not home, and you're not answering me. What the crap?
Did you have any weird feelings about anything at that point?
Nope.
Okay.
And so Scott told me that he was going to drive home because we lived off base. And so he was going to drive home at lunch and go check on him. And I knew that he was going. So the next time my phone rang, I didn't even give him a chance to say anything. I was like, he was in the bed, right? And he just took in the most awkward breath. And it was just like instantaneously, like I felt like I was having an outer body experience, because it was like at that instant, I knew what he was going to say. And he just kind of grumbled out, "It was Jake." And I was like, "Shut up." And he's like, "Shelle," he said, "they called me back. I didn't get to go home. They called me back. And when I came in, the commander, the chaplain, everybody was here." And he was like, "Ooh, something big's going on. What's..." And he said, when they got me in the conference room, I realized they were there for me. And he said they wouldn't let me leave until I called you. And I was just like, well, you can't go home and be alone. And so,
had you known any details at this point?
Nothing. I honestly was just...
Did it even feel real?
No, I was sure that it was absolutely wrong. I was just like, there's no freaking way. There's no way. But the next thing I knew, I had my purse and I had bare feet, and I was trucking out of Mom's house, and she's like, "Where are you going?" And I said, "It was Jake that died. We have to go to the airport."
Was this the first time you had visited your mom?
No, I had visited her many times.
So your real birth mom, you finally found her and connected, and you were visiting her.
Yeah.
When Jake, what ended up happening?
Well, we went to Atlantic City. They said that they were done with their flights for the day. So we had to drive to Philadelphia. And it was during the drive that that I found out that he had done it to himself.
So what happened?
He took a gun from our home and hid it in his backpack. The principal said that they have him on the video cameras getting off the bus, walking into the door, going upstairs to the math hall, going straight to the math hall bathroom.
First thing he did when he got to the school?
Mm-hmm. They said that he was in there, I want to say like 5 or 10 minutes by himself. And it was just before first bell because a kid had gone in there to go to the bathroom. And he turned around and ran out and went and got the first math teacher that was there. And so then that math teacher went in there and
wow.
So they put the kids on lockdown because it was 9/11. They didn't know if it was an isolated incident or if it was, you know. But I was clueless.
And no one
I
heard
wasn't
it?
home.
No one heard the gunshot. He did it right when the bell rang?
They said it was before first bell.
Wow.
And so all I can, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in high school because that's been something that's bugged me forever.
Yeah.
But I mean, not that it would have changed anything, but it was like, I would be so loud in the bathroom.
Wow, Shelle.
So
when you heard about the details of it,
I was just sick because we almost got divorced over the guns years and years.
wow, okay.
And it was just one of those things that I just felt like I had to pick my battle. And especially after he joined the Army because that's his life. That's his job. And
how is Scott processing that part of it with Jake's suicide?
No idea.
Okay.
No, he's obsessed with guns. He has tons of them.
Okay.
And so I didn't ever really feel like I could advocate for Jake's death the way that I wanted to tell people to keep their guns locked up and to keep them safe. When you're married to somebody that's obsessed with them.
Yeah.
I mean, he has more guns than he has of anything else.
Wow. Okay.
And so I had to make a choice on that airplane that I was either going to blame him or I wasn't.
Yeah. And you can't blame
And
anybody.
I just knew that I wouldn't survive if I had somebody to blame. So I just had to just swallow it.
How was that plane ride all the way home, knowing these things?
It was horrible. It got to the point where the stewardess actually came and she's like,
were you crying?
Oh, I was. And she's like, we don't want to have to make you get off.
Oh, wow.
Because I just couldn't stop crying. But the lady next to me just kept trying to console me and I just didn't want to be touched.
You've come a long way from not wanting to be touched.
But I remember when I landed in Denver, I thought for certain that I was going to have all these answers from him. He was going to be like, someone found my school ID. You guys are so neurotic. You worry about me too much. Blah, 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 blah. There was no reply from any of his stuff.
How did his siblings process it? But did they go to school with him? Were they in the school?
Trevor and Jake. No, Trevor had just graduated from high school. He was the only one that was in school anymore.
Okay. Do you think, I mean, we discussed this a bit, but we're talking about brain parasites and the neurotoxicity that it can create. And then you growing up in an environment with a mother that always just instantly wanted to die when she didn't get her way or when she didn't feel loved or anything. And then speaking into, what might drive, I mean, Jake, he's had since he's little bit on medication and been trying to.
Lots of childhood trauma. His dad was always deployed. He was always worried. And as he was getting older, it was getting worse. Like he was definitely getting.
Was he vaccinated?
Germophobic.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the Army makes you. You have to.
Oh, I'm starting to burp a lot asking that question. Excuse me.
And he'd had, like we talked before, he'd had a few surgeries. So he, as a kid.
What surgeries did he have?
He had like 7 extra teeth in his mouth.
At what age?
I want to say he was like 7.
So it's 7 extra teeth that grew.
And one was right
phenomenal.
in the roof of his mouth.
Fascinating.
It was a teeny little baby tooth.
Okay.
And they really sedated him. Like it took 2 days for him to think for himself. It really scared me. I thought he was going to die. I was scared for him to go to sleep.
So he's just had a lot of chemicals in his body from a young age. Okay.
And then he had Adderall.
Okay.
And then he went off medication for a few years. And then he's the one, when iPhones really became a thing, he's the one that came back to me and said, I really feel like I need to be back on something, but I do not want to take a stimulant.
Wow.
So,
wow. Jakey, you process him so well now. When I met you and you told me the story, it was an out-of-body experience for me, hearing it for the first time, and the incredible awareness that you have of, and what challenges you went through and overcame yourself because you were an alcoholic, severe alcoholic.
5 years that's all I did was drink Fireball.
You turned right into the bottle after Jake's death.
I kept that handle by the side of my bed. I didn't care how warm it was.
Wow.
I drank a handle every 2 days.
Wow. Okay. Just trying to numb the pain, escape the pain.
I just needed the noise. I needed the noise in my head.
What was the noise saying?
I don't even know. It just felt like...
Was it the same noise like suicidal ideation or...
I know in that first year, I think it just still felt like shock.
Yeah.
That whole first year just felt like this isn't real. Because I remember I took to Facebook and I was just like, I just don't want this to be real.
Would you be crying a lot?
Oh my gosh.
Constant?
Oh, Scott would call Kaylee and say, I don't know what to do. Your mom is still crying herself to sleep. And this is like at year 2.5.
Wow.
And she's just like, I don't know, Dad.
Did you feel a lot of guilt, like it was your own fault?
I was very, very, very angry at myself that I had let myself go to New Jersey for so long.
It was that one thing you held on to, like, I shouldn't have left.
Yeah, because I'm his mom.
Do you think you would have ended up doing that either way, whether you were there or not?
Not that day.
Not that day, but eventually?
But eventually,
okay.
And unless he was going to be willing to get help,
Okay.
it would have just delayed it. And I know that now. But for the longest time, because he didn't take his Strattera the whole 2 weeks that I was gone.
Oh,
Not
wow.
once.
Okay. Are you the one that was normally checking on that?
Yeah, because I made him breakfast every morning
Okay.
because he was always so skinny and small.
Yeah.
I really feel like that Adderall jacked up his system.
And
He was so skinny.
Okay.
And he always felt, Trevor's 6'4", so he was always very big, and Jake just hadn't grown yet.
Yeah.
And he just always felt insecure and like he wasn't enough. And something about him definitely changed after he had his patriarchal blessing. He was scared.
Wow. Why? What did his patriarchal blessing say?
I just kept telling him how he was going to change the face of scouting and of young men, and he was going to be this very powerful young men leader and all this stuff. And on the ride home, he just looked at me and he was just crying. And he said, when will I ever have time to just be Jake?
Oh, wow.
And right then and there, I was like,
I got chills.
I
The
screwed
awareness
up.
of that boy. Wow.
I screwed up.
Wow.
And so I think he carried that with him. I know it's an octopus. There's so many things
not just one.
that carried.
Right.
But when we did get the news that we were going to be moving to South Carolina, there was no way on God's green earth that he was going to go with us with our toxic marriage without his brother or sister.
Yeah.
And I never wanted
Wow.
it to be just about that. And I know that it wasn't, but that I feel like was the last straw for him.
Okay.
He was like, mm-mm.
So what helped you overcome your alcoholism from Jake's death?
You know what? It was just really weird. It was just like I had gotten like contacts or glasses for the first time in my life.
Okay.
I mean, obviously I had noticed I had gained weight. I was at 209 pounds.
Wow.
And I'm
Okay.
5'6".
And for those of you who aren't tuning in and seeing the video, Shelle is a tiny, tiny person here. Maybe a size 6, she's tiny. So you were 209.
4'6".
See, even smaller than I thought. So she's tiny. And so you were 209 pounds from the accumulation and compounding of Jake's death, the
The
alcoholism.
alcohol, all
and
the
where
bar
you-
food, I was eating horrible.
And with
I
your
ate whatever
celiacs
I
and your
want.
digestive
but I didn't
issues,
know I had
you
celiac.
didn't. Because you were just numbing it with the alcohol?
Oh, yeah.
Or?
If you could eat it, if you
Okay.
could take a pill, if you could drink it,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay.
Anything to make the hurt dissipate just a little.
Was Scott at this point, your ex-husband, was he ever worried about you?
He would tell Kaylee that he was worried
But he
about
would
me,
never
but he never
talk to you
communicated
directly.
to me about it. No.
Okay.
He had a very, very hard time communicating.
Was it too hard for him? Would you end up fighting?
Yes.
Okay. So he just knew not to go there with you.
Each
Or
deployment
how?
that he did,
Yeah.
he came back and we were just both different. I can't just say
Okay.
that he was different because I was different too. So we were
Wow.
both different. And
Do you think that happens? I mean,
it
with
has to.
everybody,
unless
then, with
unless
that experience,
they are your person
Yeah. Okay.
and you would
Yeah.
walk through fire for them,
Right.
which I can't even say I thought that's what we had because that's a lie.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a lot. I know it was a lot for the kids because
What helped you overcome the alcoholism?
I just saw myself that day.
Oh yeah,
and
you put on the new prescription glasses.
and I was just like,
You saw yourself. What did you look like what did you see? What flipped that made you,
it was just like I had just seen myself for the first time.
Okay.
It was almost like the last couple of years, I just was like a dream. And I was just dreaming
Did
that I
you
was
like
gaining
the
all
sight
this weight.
you saw?
Oh, I
Did you
sobbed
hate
and sobbed.
it was hard.
and
It was
sobbed.
grief.
And
Okay.
I will never forget. I didn't know that Snapchat had a For Your Eyes Only
Okay.
page. And I took a picture. I took three pictures of myself in just a bra or a sports bra
Naked
and
kinda.
underwear.
Okay.
And it was like two different front ones and kind of a side.
Yeah.
And I was like, you've got to start being kinder to your body. And my goal, it was like, I have these grandkids and I don't want them to remember me this way. And if I look like this now, if Trevor and Lauren have kids, I will never be able to play with them.
Something inside of you just
It
came
just-
up and out, and you started really creating thought patterns of like, okay, I got to change.
Well, and I had worked at a youth treatment center.
Okay. So that was
for
probably
a few
helping.
years. And so, I had a lot of the paperwork and stuff still. And so I just started journaling a lot. And, and I felt like, the first few weeks were really tough. But then it was like you wake up, you realize that you slept.
Yeah.
You wake up and you actually feel like, it's like, oh my gosh, I just made my bed.
I'm doing things. I'm living. I'm doing normal
you
things.
just start feeling, but it literally took me at least 6 weeks before I felt like I was truly thinking for myself.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's a really deep hole to climb out of, girl. Good work.
It was a lot. It was a lot. But then Scott was still very actively drinking. And so it was very hard for me because I didn't want to be around him.
You knew you needed to quit.
I started to resent.
So he was an alcoholic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We all.
So
all
he really
four of
couldn't
us
call you
just
out
took
on
off.
your alcoholism because he was doing. And when you say all four, you, Scott, and both your kids.
Oh yeah.
You all became alcoholics after Jake's death.
if mom and dad are doing it,
right, and they're hurt too.
Oh, and Trevor and Jake were like 3 years apart. They were best friends, and Kaylee and Jake were 11 years apart, but her brothers were her everything.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they were
So when you
devastated.
decided not to drink anymore, how did your kids follow suit? Because Scott continued and that was hard. Did your kids end up quitting or do they still drink?
They do still drink once in a while. I would say more on a social.
Okay.
And I'm happy for them if they can keep it there.
So you all let the alcoholism go.
Mm-hmm.
What about Scott?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where he's
well,
at.
Good
with
job
it.
for all three of you, and hopefully
Trevor
Scott as well.
I don't know. He and I just kind of. I think it's because we're both Pisces, and he's a mama's boy through and through.
Yeah.
And so what mom does, he does, and not in a. I don't know. I hope that doesn't sound.
No, but you guys are very connected. You're very close.
very
Ever
connected.
since I've known you, you're very close with your kids.
Yeah.
They're my and your grandkids.
They're my bestest.
Yeah.
And so my goal was I just wanted to get healthy. Yeah. It was like, okay, if I, because at first I just kept thinking that, you get to die from this. Yeah. Nobody's going to make you stay and suffer this.
Yeah.
And then when you keep waking up, it's like, oh, I got to do something different because this isn't working. So I just, of course, you start eating better.
Yeah.
And drinking a lot more water and just cutting that out. So in the first 6 weeks, I lost 45 pounds.
Wow. In just the first 6 weeks. That's just how much water weight and inflammation your body was holding on to in toxic waste just from the alcohol alone. 45 pounds.
And the food.
That is wild.
Because I was just, you've seen pictures of me.
Yeah.
I carried it all up here.
Yeah.
Up here, I feel like triple what I am now.
It's so weird to see the pictures of you. I'm like, what?
So,
what?
Yeah, it's not
the same person at
no,
all.
and when I see pictures of myself, I'm not embarrassed.
Good.
At first, I kind of was, but then it was like, you know what? Turn this into a positive. Show people that it can be done.
Look what you can do. Look how you can change.
The thing that's crazy, though, is that how people really do treat you differently based off of what you look like.
Right.
I mean, we could probably do a whole nother series on that, but so I won't even take off on that.
Yeah.
But
it is interesting. But also you were in a different frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So people want to stay away because they can feel, well, I don't know what that is, but I don't want to be around it. Right. So there's that too.
It was like as soon as I quit drinking, I started having horrible stomach issues.
Okay.
And I thought it was just from like the lack of alcohol, the lack of the fat foods, the lack of,
Mm-hmm.
But my guts just seemed, and then.
They were detoxing and they needed to.
And then a couple years later, my left arm went numb.
Okay.
And I found out that I had degenerative disc disease. So I guess I had like a pinched off nerve. So my arm the nerve was completely pinched off. So I have had hardware put in there. And so they say that.
When you say you had hardware put in there, what do you mean?
I have
Did you have surgery?
Yeah, I had surgery. So it's, I don't know, it's like a plate and has like 6 screws in it.
Did it help fix the problem?
Yeah, I can feel my arm. I can use it.
Love it.
It was just like hanging weird.
Okay. So you had that.
But I was very scared to do that because I didn't want to take pain pills.
Right.
And I had a surgery before when I was drinking. And so I wasn't worried about it because I could just drink through it too.
Whew.
And so raw dogging, that was rough.
Good work.
That was very, very hard.
Well, did you smoke marijuana?
Yeah. If I
did that help?
I probably would have given in and started drinking because I still had that thought process that, oh my gosh, relief. 2 shots would make the pain go away. It would feel so good. I'll have 6. That was just where my bipolar brain was like, if I do 2, it'll be gone. So if I do 6, it'll be freaking amazing.
So the marijuana helped just regulate and help you let go?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I only took the 1 set of pain pills. I never did a refill. And then I let it go. I just did Tylenol after that because I was scared to take.
Okay, and let's speak to your celiacs.
So after that, my guts were just never the same.
Okay.
Like I literally Googled, and this, I Googled, why does my poo smell like the sewer? That's what I Googled.
Okay.
And I was surprised that it came up. I'm like, I'm not the only one that's Googled this.
Yeah.
But
So
it was like,
bacteria
I
and
hope
waste
no one
inside.
goes in there after me because paint's peeling. Something's not right. Sorry, it was a
Something's
Shelleism.
not right.
There's something dying up in there.
So you needed to fix something.
But it took 4 years for them to figure out what it was. They kept trying me on all these different medications.
It took them 4 years to tell you it's celiac disease?
And it wasn't even them. It
Wow.
was my half-sister that reached out to me, and she had gotten diagnosed with it, and her doctor told her that she needed to let her biological siblings know.
Wow.
So I am actually the one that told my doctor what I had.
Fascinating. Okay, and what did when you have a celiac attack, what is that like for you? Do you get diarrhea?
Sometimes. I also have a form of colitis.
Yes.
So sometimes it comes in diarrhea. Sometimes it comes in, I will throw up. It starts like a panic
Did your
attack.
colitis start after your shoulder surgery?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're talking about your colitis, my shoulders ache so hard. Just so you know.
Both of those things started after my neck surgery.
Okay. Fascinating.
And so, but I just kept, they couldn't come up with anything.
Sure.
My diet was never discussed.
Sure.
And then by then I had moved down here to St. George from Salt Lake. And so I called my doctor and I said, this is what my sister says I have. I went and got the blood test done. And even when I went to the specialist, it was just like, okay, just don't eat gluten. Have a nice life.
And you're like, what do I eat then?
Well, I am not patient. I'm not a patient grocery shopper. I don't take the time.
It's hard to get that diagnosis and not know what to do. And then have to figure out, okay, you got to read all the ingredients on all the boxes, make sure you can eat this and this and
you have to learn what these other, if you don't know what that word means, you need to look it up. And you need to make sure that there isn't
kind of chemical
a
you're
form in
putting
there,
into your body.
because it doesn't matter whether you eat. Okay, so if you eat an entire sandwich, or say I get cross-contaminated by somebody drinking out of my Stanley cup that just ate a sandwich.
Yeah.
The reaction for my body is the same. It would definitely be worse if I ate the whole sandwich, because there's a lot more for my body to process.
Yeah.
But
it's that sensitive for you.
So bad. So bad.
Fascinating.
And so I have really found myself, if I hadn't met you, I don't know. I just didn't, I had done so much talk therapy. I had done EMDR. I had done TMS therapy. I kind of was just at a point where I was just accepting that I was about as healed as I was going to be.
Okay.
And
then you're like, oh, another layer.
I was happy.
Yeah.
But not really happy.
Yeah.
Not like I felt like I should be for surviving everything that I'd survived. And I didn't want to just survive. I wanted to live.
Yeah.
If I was going to survive this, I'm really going to survive this.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to skate
Those strong
anymore.
thoughts are good, huh?
Well, I just knew that it wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
I people pleased and shape shifted for so long that it wasn't working for me. Your body will always keep score and tell you.
Yes.
If you don't address the traumas, the childhood things, any of it.
And the forgiveness that still needs to be had.
That's still working.
And the trauma that's still there. I'm just remembering the podcast earlier as we spoke about your mom and your brother, and just like still working things through constantly and finding love and forgiveness as we move through, right? And so when I met you, it was so amazing how you instantly aligned to the detox. You wanted the binder and the tincture, and you instantly found relief and alignment to new diet and
anything,
a new way to live.
Any teeny little bit that was going to make any of this feel a little bit better, I was in. And
do you still, tell me, how often do you take the binder?
Every day.
Every day.
Mm-hmm.
And tincture?
Every day.
Amazing. And so
I take moringa.
Yeah.
Do I say that? Is it
moringa?
I always want to say moringa, and I feel like it's moringa, right?
Moringa. It's
and I take thyroid, and then I take the parasite heavy metal.
The thyroid and moringa and all those ones are also,
So those are my 3 that I take every day. And then I do my binder, because there is something about that binder that just helps my stomach.
Move everything.
So even when I do accidentally get glutened, I don't feel like it's as violent.
Because but before in the past, your gluten attacks would put you in bed for
I was in bed
while.
for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't work for a long time. And I know it really was very frustrating for Scott, but it was like, I can't go get a job. I'm wearing diapers.
Yeah. And that happened. Okay. So when you did the 10-day detox, she came and did, how many colonics was it? Just
I only did the 2.
The 2. And on the second one,
so day 1, I knew I had a chance that a celiac attack would, because if there was any underlying, because my thyroid is very slow.
Yeah.
So I think that waylays my attacks.
Yeah.
So I knew that there was probably a probability, and I did have a gluten attack, and they're not fun, but it was a very short one.
Yes.
I felt like, but then the second day, kicked in the colitis.
Yeah, that.
And
it was miserable for you
that night. Well, and it was just wild because even as we were leaving.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need a towel between my legs. It just,
and I just thought you were joking because you're such a jokester. And I was like, you're hilarious, Shelle. And I didn't realize
it was
that it had opened up.
Like I couldn't figure out where it was coming from.
Yeah, it opened up a pathway.
When I got home, of course, I took a shower.
Yeah.
And I got cleaned up. Thank goodness I had a whole box of the grown-up diapers.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things when you don't know what disease you have, you start buying adult diapers because
when
you have to go to work. You have to do stuff. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and that entire full-size mattress was just covered in just like liquid water. It was just poo water.
Oh my gosh.
And I was freezing. And I remember just laying there sobbing because the diaper was full. The bed was covered. The sheets were covered. My dog was just sitting over there looking at me like, kind of stinking hair. And I was just like, I don't want to live anymore. I can't do this.
Oh, and there's that. Okay, that. I don't want to live anymore. The suicidal ideation instantly.
I was like, I've been working so hard to heal. Why can't this just work? Why do I have to keep having these setback things,
Yeah.
And it really broke me. It made me really, really sad. And of course, I get very hard on myself because it was like, I couldn't follow through with the 10-day.
It was so hard for you. It was so
I was so
hard.
upset because I didn't.
Bad in my heart.
I didn't want to be one of those people that quit.
Yeah.
I didn't want to quit.
Yeah.
I wanted to see it through.
You were upset in so many ways.
And, but I'm not done.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it again. And I know that it will probably kick in an attack. And I
don't think it will. I this time.
I mean,
she
I
was
could possibly
so upset.
poop the bed.
I was like,
be ready.
What I wanted to do was put you back on the bed when you were having your diarrhea that wouldn't stop. Let's put you one more time back on the bed and pull out whatever it is that is creating this and that is was jammed up before and needing to come out, right? So, but she was so miserable. She couldn't. And I'm excited to
I
have
just couldn't
success
drive.
in the
I
next.
was like, my car, I'll
It
have
was
to get
everything.
It
It was just,
I had to send Kaylee to go buy more. Like I had to wear diapers for days.
oh,
And it was just like,
so sorry.
hey, you know what?
Now we can laugh about it.
Well,
At the time, it was not fun for any of us.
if it's going to go wild, leave it to the bipolish one to make it just be buck wild.
Buck wild.
Here we are.
Uh-huh.
It's me.
Well, you did good getting through it with,
Yeah, but you guys
constant
all
diarrhea through the
so
detox.
much. You guys helped me realize that it's okay.
Yeah.
And
it's the body healing.
And I don't
really
look at
is.
it like it's a fail. I really don't. I mean, at very, very first, that was my first, the old school reaction.
Mm-hmm.
You failed. But I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I tried.
Yeah.
If somebody would have told me a year and a half ago that I would be living the lifestyle that I'm living right now, I would have laughed in their face, like probably kind of obnoxiously. Like something from Seinfeld.
There's really, no way you would believe that you would be doing colonics,
that I would
and
be
taking herbs,
clean, that I would be doing
and eating. That's just one thing. You changed your diet. You're vegan now.
Completely.
Yeah,
I've been ever since I've been hanging out with you,
yeah.
and it really was. It was just kind of by accident. I just kind of just
vegan,
started
it's where I can go raw, plant-based.
Feeling. I ate so much of it for so long that I was like, you know what, let's just take a little break.
Yeah.
And I've had it a couple of times, but every time I've eaten it, I felt like shit.
Yeah, your body keeps score,
Sorry, your body does keep score. Your body always tells you. And so I try very hard to not ever feel yucky, because I felt horrible for every day for so long that
What are the best foods you feel like make you feel the best? Or like the foods that make you feel the optimal?
Just vegetables and fruit for sure.
Okay. What foods do you know to avoid with your celiacs and colitis? So the listeners might, if you have celiacs or colitis, Shelle's dealt with it for so long, you already know you need to avoid bread at all costs.
Mm-hmm. Well,
processed sugars.
It's very interesting because the colitis, there are some vegetables that they say that we're supposed to stay away from, like broccoli,
do you stay away from that?
cauliflower. I do try to, but I love them. I'll still once in a great while, but I don't.
Does it activate the colitis? Do you get symptoms from when you eat it, or because you're so clean, it doesn't affect you?
I honestly haven't had it since I've been journaling so much about my food. Okay. So maybe now I'll have to try it out and see. I've got some diapers at home.
And do you know, because now I have a question. Do you know, does your colitis react differently to it if it's cooked or if it's raw? So I feel like you'd be able to eat it raw, just not cooked.
I've never thought of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, you teach me something new every day. I learn something new. So I don't know. Now I'm going to really pay attention, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it took me a really, really long time to figure out what symptoms were causing celiac.
Yeah.
Or is it colitis? Or do you just have a tummy ache? Is it? So yeah, it gets kind of exhausting, but I'm not gonna give up. I came too far to quit now.
Good.
So.
Do you have any suicidal ideation yourself?
Not anymore.
Did you used to? Before Jake's death at all?
Not. I felt like I was depressed.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand what true depression was until he passed away. Okay. And then as soon as he passed away, I got it.
Okay.
And then it was just like, I didn't want to do anything to purposely hurt myself. But if I would have taken too many extra pills and drank too much and didn't wake up, or maybe got hit by a bus,
think those things
it wouldn't have hurt
in your
my
head.
feelings.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
And I didn't share those thoughts with anybody because they were worried enough about me as it was. So I kept that extra dark.
I wonder how many people think those things on a daily and don't share and don't,
Well, you don't want to get
expand
locked
onto
up.
why
You don't want your family to all of a sudden be like, "Hey, do you need help?" But the thing is,
Well,
is
then
like if you do,
you end up like Jake, yeah?
you
So
do.
that's
Yeah,
my
you
other
gotta
question.
speak up.
Did Jake ever come to you saying, Mom, I feel depressed. I feel like I want to die? No, not once.
But
So he kept
did write it in his
all
journal.
inside. So he never communicated to anyone, and not even
He
his
communicated with Trevor.
Okay, he did.
Yeah,
He told his
communicated
brother?
with Trevor, and
Right
and
before
he wrote
even?
a lot in his journal about it.
Okay.
And they actually had a pact that I was unaware of, that if either of them ever felt suicidal, that they would reach out to each other.
Oh, wow.
So I had no clue.
So then
as
let
their
me
mom.
ask, how does Trevor process that? If they had that pact and he knew he was suicidal as his brother, did he have to go through processing of guilt?
I have been scared for Trevor's life ever since.
So yeah, how is Trevor doing now?
That day. So much better.
Okay, good.
So much better. He has a lot of rage. He's got a lot of anger.
Okay.
But he's working on it.
Good.
And his fiance is just incredible, and she keeps, he's doing so much better, and he doesn't drink to try to escape.
Good.
In fact, he usually just stays away from it.
Good. He's found regulation and balance.
And he doesn't have celiac, but he does have some form. He's got all the same issues that we have. So, and Lauren has to eat gluten-free and lactose intolerant.
Okay.
So they eat pretty clean.
Good.
Already. But
good.
his doctor actually prescribed him a binder to take.
Amazing. So, and he already is aligned and you already know. And you're like, okay.
But the thing that was funny is that he thought I was being a kook.
Oh, cute.
For saying, I'm like, Bud, I'm telling you, it will help regulate your tummy. It will feel so much better.
Okay.
He thought I was being a hippie.
And now?
And now he prefers to take our binder. He doesn't like the binder that the doctor gave
Ours
him.
is better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I love that. Well, at least his doc knew what's up and told him to take a binder. Thank you, doc.
So I was baffled.
Appreciate that.
That was the first person that I have ever heard
That's
that
cool.
they have said that a doctor was actually, so at least somebody out there is getting in on some of it. But doing a lot better. And he is doing therapy too.
Okay, good.
So that's
good. I think it's so important, especially that kind of trauma.
It is.
And I don't think that most people understand how important it is to process something as traumatic as that. And if you've had trauma, I know so many of us, myself, you, and the listeners who know people who have committed suicide, and maybe yourself has suicidal ideation. So if that's the case, being able to reach out, get help, get therapy, knowing that there's detoxing in all sorts of ways, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, to feel good and know that you're wanted here, you're a wanted child. Speaking a little bit to the want and the wanted child, I feel so much in the adoption coming back, this feeling internally of unwant. I was given up. Right. Mm-hmm. But then you have these adopted parents who did want you, and then they found you, but then not knowing how to love in the ways that you needed to be nurtured. They only knew the ways they knew. Right. And so knowing that you're wanted here, and that I wish Jake had understood how wanted he was and could feel that. Yeah. And really helping all of those along the way that don't have the internal knowing and feeling of this wanted love, and those want to be here on earth and create with the collective here. And I think it's important to be able to connect to that if you don't understand it.
It is so important to reach out to somebody that you feel safe with. And obviously, if you don't feel safe with them, you know that that's not your person. You've got to go to somebody that understands the magnitude of it. Because they don't need advice. Yeah. They just need somebody to sit with them until that spell, whatever that, I mean, yes, it is just waylaying it,
but at least it can pass.
but it can pass.
And we can reconduct and we can try to reprogram until the next episode comes again, and it can get lighter and lighter and lighter until we can eventually try to let it go.
Right.
But who knows when it will come back around. I mean, we talk about this several times just in the house and in moments I have where I've been stressed, and I've talked about my suicidal ideations, and you've helped and held space for me as you've told me about yours, and we're able to sit and hold each other and know that these are just real things and thought process people have and feelings that people go through, and understanding that we're okay to reach out, get help, and be held in that moment.
Yeah. And to not feel any shame or guilt about it at all. That it's just, life is hard. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. There's something I've definitely learned, that it's okay to change your mind.
Yeah.
It's okay
in any moment
to want something
realign.
different. And it's okay for something really amazing and something super crappy to exist at the same time.
That.
You have to just make peace with all of your pieces and parts.
Yeah.
You're only going to heal with as much as the truth about yourself as you're willing to look at. That's the way I look at it. And so, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I've learned about myself that I don't really like. I've got a lot of anger. I've got some pretty twisted humor.
That part I get to enjoy here and there.
But laughter has definitely saved my life.
Yeah.
I think that
your laugh is my favorite, by the way.
Which one?
Your real laugh?
Because I have like 11.
Your real one. The one that
I'm not sure which one Sophie calls that. She has names for each of them.
It's like it's your Afton laugh.
It's my Afton laugh. Okay.
Shelle's real name is Afton. And I didn't know this until like 6 months of her working for me. And I don't know how I found out, but I'm like, who's Afton?
But then she decided that she loved that one so much more than Shelle. So she started calling me Afton. And so I've just embraced it. I mean,
you never liked it before. And now you're like, okay, fine. I'll be Afton for you.
I am Afton.
Because I'll do it. Pretty.
Well, it is my name. Yeah. And it was my grandmother's name. So I answer to it proudly now. I'm okay with it.
I love that. Okay.
And so yeah, it's a really, really wild journey, and it isn't something I didn't think that I would still be here.
Wow.
To be talking about this.
You and me both, girl.
I wanted to be the #1 American Foundation for Suicide Prevention advocate. I wanted to make sure that every year we had a team for Jake, that we made the most money. I was going to make all the difference in the world.
Wow.
That was my dream in the beginning.
Okay.
But little did my brain know the journey that was ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
That if you're lucky to get to this point, if you survive that first few years, because it's hard.
Good work.
Because, I mean, we were just instant empty nesters. My baby was just gone.
Oh, wow.
And then Trevor was in college. Kaylee was married with the grandkids. And then here we are with our toxic marriage going,
what do we do now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you ended up getting divorced.
We did end up getting divorced. It's been, I don't know, not quite 6 months yet, but I know it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. All right. Well, Shelle,
it's just been a lot.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for going through life in the way that life's presented itself to you and unfolded for you, and being able to create awareness within yourself to know that this isn't the way anymore.
Yeah.
We're not going to give up, and we're not going to speak about it constantly, and we're going to continue.
My part of it. But yeah, then once you take accountability for it, you just don't look in the rearview mirror. It's just, it's easy to. And when we don't feel good and when we're sad, that rabbit hole is always just right there. So we just have to stay aware. And it does get exhausting, but that's where we just get honest and we get together and say, I need a hug.
Yeah.
Help ground me, help bring me back to today, now.
And speaking to earlier, how you're saying, you you let people touch you now. It was hard for a while. Was that?
Well, Scott and we just
never
basically
been really
became
held.
roommates. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just been a long time since you've been held. And then you weren't held as a child. Right.
My dad was more huggy and stuff,
Oh,
but
good.
so yeah, my kids and my grandkids would joke a lot. They love to scare me just about how jumpy and stuff I am. So it is very, very hard for me. It was the other day with your mom when she kept trying to hug me, and she's like, "Shelley, hold still." She's like,
Just
let me hug you. Because I would let her hug me for a second, and then I would try to move because, you know, I got to be going. And she's just like, let me hug you.
Yeah.
And it was so hard. But then today, when we were at the house and you're like,
just let me hug you.
Move your hands. Just let your arms lay still. It was just like I just instantly relaxed.
Let go. Yeah.
Yeah, all of it. Because I felt like that. I felt like I was doing that to help soothe you. That I wasn't listening to. I was listening, but I wasn't really listening. And as soon as I did, it was just like, it was kind of, I felt almost like when I came out of the light bed. I just felt so relaxed and just so.
Good.
Whoo.
Good.
Woohoo. So
good work at getting through life, girl. And Jake is such a special soul, and his awareness, your awareness, and what it takes to get through such a traumatic thing as that. I'm just really proud of you. And
thank you. It's just, you know, it's just a lot. And I feel like the very best thing that I can do now is to turn around and extend my hand to the next person in line, because the statistics aren't slowing down.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anybody that had died by suicide before Jake did. And now I have several friends that have died by suicide, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I remember having conversations with them after Jake passed, and they just ended up, you know, not being able to hold on.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the only way that we're really going to make a difference is just to be really honest about it, and then not be ashamed and not be scared when people do reach out to us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And talk vulnerably and authentically about your experience so others can resonate and heal from it, so they don't have to go through the same things, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, like I said, I felt like I had just healed about as much as I was going to. But then when that first time that we met and you made lunch for all of us, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I'm like, I can do this single. I can cook. I could do this.
Yeah.
And I've told you guys this a million times. I just feel like since I've been with all of you girls, I feel like it's just been healing my brain. Good. And that was something that I didn't think was possible.
Yeah.
And I know it's because I'm eating better. I definitely am a lot more positive. I love myself, finally.
Good.
And
feels good.
Yeah, without it feeling selfish. It's really hard to learn that as an adult. Really, really hard, because it makes you feel like you're being a really shitty person.
And that's not the feeling you want when you're doing good things for yourself.
You're trying to set boundaries, and you're trying to let people know that this is the way that I can love you and me at the same time.
Yes.
And some people are going to get it and some people won't. And that's, you know, that is definitely somewhere that I'm working at with my parents, trying to just forgive and realize that, you know, they are who they are.
Yeah.
And they raised me the best they could with what they had at the time.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
So,
and your brother, he's adopted as well, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he has that same feeling of unwanted that he has to sort through. And
he does, but he says that he doesn't.
Good.
But he has a big need to be successful.
Yes.
And so he's kind of taken it in a different direction. I think girls tend to, as that maternal, we want to know where we came from. We want to know who we look like. We want, you know. Boys kind of, at least with the books and stuff that I read about adoption, boys are more like, well, if they didn't want me as a baby, they don't get me now. And girls are more like, yes, I want to know where I came from. I want to know where, you know.
Mhm.
And so he didn't talk to me for 2.5 years when I met my birth parents for the first time, because he thought it was such a slap in the face to my parents.
Oh, wow.
And
What did your parents think?
I'm like, they helped me.
Okay. So he just had an opinion that was a perspective that was just so different.
But he just felt like it was
you were always just fighting about it instead of trying to understand
but
each other's differences.
never fit. I was
Sure.
the bull in the china closet. And as soon as I met my birth mom and met my
Did it all make
grandparents and met
sense?
my family, we're all bipolish. We all have it.
There it goes. Makes
And
sense.
it's like,
where I
oh,
came
my
from.
people. Okay. I get why I'm so quirky.
I love
The
that.
Polish thing is real.
Mm-hmm.
And
you
I love it.
Yeah, okay.
It's helped save my life. This
Good.
goofy humor that I have has definitely helped save my own life lots of times.
I love that. Well, I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for being on the podcast and sharing your incredible story about.
Thanks for letting me.
You're welcome. About suicide, about Jake, about your family, about, you know, the environment you grew up in as a child, and about your experience in the detox and everything.
We're gonna do it again.
Oh yeah. She's gonna do the detox again.
I'm gonna do it again.
And thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. Shelle, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, or how do they
I mean, I
follow
don't know.
you
This
on
is just
Instagram?
also new. Yes, I'm on Instagram. It's Crooked Mama.
Crooked Mama.
Because our last name's Crookston, so it's just Crooked Mama. And I am on Facebook, Shelle Crookston. And if there's anybody out there that's struggling and needs somebody to talk to, I'll answer. I'll do what I can. I mean, I'm no guru. I'm just a survivor, but I will definitely help in any way that I can.
Beautifully said. And we're all survivors. And I love you all. And I love you, Shelle. Thank you so much.
Thanks.